Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I am finally going to do my foundation ranking video. I'm talking about the last 8 releases that I have reviewed on my channel. There has been so many foundations and you guys are still asking for more. I think there's one from Shiseido. I have the Milk one that I need to try out. There's just so many, and I promised you guys that I would do a ranking video, but never have I ever been so stressed in my life. I'm kidding, but this is one of the most stressful videos I have had to prepare for, because putting these in order, at first I was starting with a star system, like, oh, 4 out of 5 stars or this or that. And I was like, no, I'm just going to place these in order of my favorite to least favorite. But with that being said, I don't think any of these foundations are bad. I'm going to put them in my preference order, which ones I like the best to the least, but with the least still being a foundation that I like. So I'm not saying that any of these foundations are bad. I know people don't always like disclaimers, but I feel like I need to say this because everyone's skin is different. I am personally combo. I am oily in my T-zone. I can be dry around my mouth sometimes. I can be normal around my mouth. I can be normal dry on my cheeks, but my T-zone pretty much always stays oily. And not everyone's gonna have the same experiences with foundation. So just take this with a grain of salt. This is my own personal opinion, and I am just gonna go ahead and get into this. I'm gonna start off by telling you which foundations I am gonna talk about. I am going to be talking about the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue foundation, the new Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection foundation. I have the one that I reviewed the most recent. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless foundation. The Stay Naked from Urban Decay Weightless Liquid foundation. I feel like I'm saying foundation too much. Foundation. Anastasia Beverly Hills Luminous foundation. And then I have the KEVYN Aqua BALM foundation, the FENTY Beauty Pro Filter Hydrating Longwear foundation, and then lastly, the SMASHBOX Studio Skin Full Coverage 24-Hour foundation. This is how this is going to go. I'm going to start off with my number 1 and work down to my least favorite. So again, I'm going to reiterate, none of these foundations are bad. I'm going to tell you why I like it and anything that I don't like about it, yada yada, and let's get on to it. So out of all of these foundations, which one is my favorite? If you think you know me, pause the video right now, comment which one you think is my favorite, and then come back and then see if you're right or not. I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3. All right, I'm going into it. I have decided that my number 1 foundation out of all of these is the FENTY Pro Filt'R Hydrating. This is the one that I am currently wearing. I think I said impressed so many times in the video. I will also link down in the description box every review of every foundation that I'm talking about, because I did a wear test for all of these and I've worn them all several times. The reason why this one is number 1 among other things is that this gives me the perfect amount of coverage just straight away. I don't need to layer this. I don't like to layer foundations. I have a solid medium to full coverage. It gives me a flawless finish without it looking like I tried really hard to get it. I love the longevity of this. This one lasts me all day long. I do end up getting a little bit of shine around the crease of my nose and chin. It doesn't separate on me though. My pores look good all day long. I do get a little bit of shine, but nothing that I can't blot away. During my wear test, I never blot anything. So in real life, I blot this and it just looks perfect all day long. I feel like my skin feels hydrated. I don't feel like it's heavy. I feel like it just, I don't know, it does something amazing for my skin, and I love the finish of it. So it's not a luminous finish and it's not a matte finish. It is like this natural satin with like a little bit of a glow. Like I feel like I have a slight natural glow. It's a skin look. It's a perfected skin look, and you can build this up to full coverage, but like I said, I personally don't like to do it. I just Love the longevity of this. I love the way my skin looks all day long. I feel like I can count on this one. I feel like it doesn't dehydrate my skin, and just overall performance, the way it looks, everything, this is numero uno. Now let's move on to number 2, and this was a close one. Like, I was going back and forth with these, and it was hard for me to decide which one to pick. It's the one with the big word foundation down the side from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Luminous foundation. I love this product. It is so nice on the skin. It just gives you a subtle luminosity. It's not dewy or oily looking or anything like that. You get more of a medium coverage. So with the Fenty, you're going to get a little bit more coverage. I feel like it looks just a little bit smoother on the skin than what the Anastasia does, but I will say that the Anastasia is a little bit more natural. It has a medium coverage. You can build this up, but I again like to keep that medium coverage. This one reminds me a lot of the Laura Mercier that I love so much, the Flawless LUMIERE Radiance Perfecting. I would say that this foundation is kind of a mixture. It's in between the Anastasia one and the Fenty one. I'm talking about this because people were asking me nonstop, like, where does this fit into the realm? I would say that this is basically like what would happen if you mix this with the Fenty, you would get this foundation. So I still love that one, but we're clearly just talking about the ones that just released. This lasts on me really well all day long. I do feel like I get a little bit more wear. Like I said, the Fenty just lasts longer. This one does get a little bit of shine through the T-zone, but you can blot it away, touch it up. It lasts very nicely. So number 2 is Anastasia. Now for number 3. I knew right away which one this was going to be, and it is from Urban Decay. It is the Stay Naked foundation. This foundation shocked me. I am not going to lie. I'm not usually somebody who loves a matte finish, and that's definitely what this is. But what I love about this one is that it's thinner. So you can definitely build up the coverage if you want to. Pretty much all matte foundations, because of how they dry down, you can build on them, but I don't like the way that looks because I feel like a matte foundation, especially when you build on them, they can look cakey. This one layer, I'm getting a light medium. So it's not a full medium. It is a light medium coverage, matte finish. And when I'm talking about staying power, this has like double wear and the Tarte face tape staying power without the amount of coverage. So if you want something that is not that thick, but is going to last really well, look more natural, be matte so that you don't have shine breaking through, this does not break through. Like, I have nothing coming through. It just stays all day long. My pores look amazing all day long. I really like this, as well as the concealer that they came out with. I was impressed with both of them. This is a foundation that I won't use back to back to back though, because it does contain alcohol. I have a rule with foundations with alcohol in them now. It's basically, you have to be worth it. There's been studies that show that alcohol will mess with your skin. I personally haven't had any issues with it, but obviously I haven't done anything long term. So what I like to do is, if I really love a foundation and it has alcohol in it, I just don't wear it back to back. I wear it when I want to look good, or I want to have that specific look, or this or that, because truth be told, I have a million foundations, so it's not like I can't pick something else that's going to look good in my collection. I mean, I have all these 8 right here that I like. So if a foundation has alcohol in it, it has to be worth it on my skin and the way it looks for me to continue to use it. And this is one of them. I just love how thin it is, how long wearing it is, how natural it looks for a matte foundation. It's great for these summer hot months, and I would definitely recommend it. Number 4, this one knocked my socks off. I wasn't prepared for how much I was going to like this foundation, and it is from Dose of Colors, and this is the Meet Your Hue foundation. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I thought this was going to be a super matte foundation. It's not. It is a satin type of finish. It is a medium to full coverage, and it looks amazing on my skin. I feel like this is a very perfected look. The Fenty one is a little bit more smooth than this one is, but this one has like this hydrating, just gorgeous perfected look. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like my skin looks really nice when I have this on. I do get a little bit of shine at the end of the day around my nose and on my chin. Again, something that I can blot. I feel like this foundation looks naturally beautiful, and it's very easy to sheer out. So if you didn't want to have as much coverage, you can take this one and sheer it out very easily. Not all foundations can you do that with. I think it's harder to do with a lot of matte foundations or ones that are thicker consistency. This one isn't watery, but it's not thick, and I just think it looks amazing on the skin, and it doesn't emphasize any dry areas on my skin either. And again, very long wearing. All right, now moving on to number 5. This is the only balm foundation in this ranking, and I got so many all the comments bombarded with foundations, and this was the foundation balm. You guys were cracking me up. But anyway, this is from KEVYN. It comes with a brush, and I remember talking about in the video, and I still feel this way now, that this is one of the only foundations that I actually like applied with a brush better than a sponge. I feel like with a sponge, you definitely have to build this up more. This is on its own a kind of creamy, powdery type of finish. But if you wear a hydrating primer or you wear a line of moisturizer like I do, it ends up being more of a satin finish. This makes me look like a porcelain doll. I love the way this makes my skin look. I will say that if you're dry, I wouldn't suggest this because I felt like on my nose, it kind of clung and made my nose look a little bit dry. I had to work in it, like kind of fix up my nose to make it not look that way. The only way I would suggest this to somebody who is dry is by using the sponge and then also really hydrating your skin. But if you have any type of flakiness, I feel like this is probably going to emphasize it. The coverage on this is almost full, but I wouldn't say that it is full coverage like one of the other foundations I'm going to talk about later. Now, this would actually be higher up on the list, but longevity-wise, for my T-zone, it does not last as long. This is a foundation I'm going to grab for like an 8-hour day. I am not going to grab for this if I know that I'm going to be out all day, like I'm going to do my makeup at 7 a.m. and I'm not going to come back until 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, I'm not going to pick this one up because I feel like it does not last that well on my skin. I get shiny and oily all in this area. I could touch up, but I feel like it would probably look cakey because of the texture of this foundation in general. But it is beautiful. If this had more of a staying power with it, I would definitely love this for just a perfected doll-like look. Like if I was going out for something where I had a special event and just wanted to look just absolutely flawless, this would be the foundation. But unfortunately, it's just not a very long wearing foundation. Still love it though. Woo, now we're getting down to the bottom 3. Which one will it be, you guys? I know you guys know which ones are left, but which one will be last? Let's see. My number 6 is from Charlotte Tilbury, and it's the Airbrush Flawless Foundation. Now, this would actually be further up on my list of favorites if it wasn't for one thing. This definitely gives me a beautiful coverage. It is medium to full. It's a satin finish that ends up drying a little bit more on the matte side, and it does darken as that happens, so keep that in mind. I feel like this lasts really well all day with the exception of one thing. I feel like my skin just looks perfected. I like the consistency of it. I like the longevity, again, with the exception of one thing. My pores. I don't know what it is because everything else on my face I feel like looks so good, but my pores, it does something strange. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I just did the review of this foundation a few days ago, but I get these tiny dots, and obviously I have pores and that's what they are, but it doesn't get cakey. It stays smooth. So that's why I say, like, I don't hate this foundation or anything like that. I don't love the way it looks on my pores. And if there's some way I can figure out how to make this work or change, I will let you guys know. But for some reason, instead of getting cakey and really oily, it's like it sinks into my pores almost as if the foundation never went into them to begin with, or that I never had a primer there to begin with. It just looks like little dots, like open hole dots on my face. I don't understand why. So that's the one downside with this, is the pore situation. Everything else is beautiful. Finish is gorgeous. Longevity is amazing. I love this foundation with that exception. And the colors I feel like could be a little bit better. But yeah, I will have to keep you updated if I find something that makes my pores look better with that. But as of right now, nothing has worked. Moving on to number 7 is the Pat McGrath foundation. Now I know so many people love this, and I don't hate this foundation. I love the packaging. I love the way that it initially looks on my skin. However, it kind of ends up making me feel dry. Now the powder I absolutely do not like. I feel like the powder, with especially in conjunction with this, it just the Pat McGrath powder, that is, I feel like it really makes me feel dry. This looks gorgeous on my skin. It is a light medium coverage, kind of like the Luminous Silk. It has great longevity, but it ends up just kind of making my skin feel tight. Now it doesn't feel as tight with other powders, like my Chanel powder looks great with it, my La Prairie powder looks great with it, my LUMIERE, all these other powders look better than what the Pat McGrath powder does, but this one does contain alcohol, and like I mentioned before, if I'm going to wear a foundation with alcohol, it has to be worth it, and I think that this is pretty, but I don't necessarily think that it is worth it to put the alcohol on my face. So that's my gig with it. I feel like I would probably try it even more if it didn't have the alcohol in it, but I'm kind of trying it sparingly, just like randomly with other things because of the alcohol content in it. I do like the way that this looks. I do think that this is pretty, but do I think that the Luminous Silk is better? Absolutely. So I know it sounds like I just hate this foundation. I don't. It's just not one of my favorites. I think that there's definitely pros and cons to it. But for me, again, Luminous Silk would be the way to go. Now for the very last one is the Smashbox. Obviously, it's the last one that is left over. And this stuff, oh my gosh, if you want coverage, wow. This has so much coverage. It's very matte. You need to work in sections because this is matte and one of the fullest coverage foundations I have used. It lasts all day long. You are not going to have this budge from your face. You aren't going to get super shiny. It is definitely a great foundation for somebody who is oily, wants something that's going to last all day, wants amazing coverage, wants that flawless matte finish. But for me, the reason why this is at the bottom of the list, while I think that this foundation is good, it's not my type of go-to. So I don't particularly love a full coverage, super matte foundation. It's not something I lean toward. I definitely think it looks good on my skin. Definitely looks good on camera. I love matte foundations on camera. Dewy foundations sometimes can look like they look bad when they don't, but matte foundations look amazing. This just is a little too makeup-y for me personally, but I think that if you are oily, that you would love this. I have a harder time trying to get this to blend out. So if I'm gonna wear this, I have to go all in. I have to like commit to the matte, flawless type of look. That's not a bad look at all. It's just, again, not one that I typically go for. So while I think that this is a good one, I can't say that this is one that I am going to use a lot. So therefore, it is at the bottom of the list. There we have it, you guys. I finally did it. I have ranked all the new foundations. Let me know what you guys think down below. Tell me what your favorites are, which ones that you're not in love with. Please don't get mad at me about the Pat McGrath. I know. But I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.